Well, welcome to our August presentation of Brainstorms, the podcast primarily designed for veterans from the global war on terror, Afghanistan, Iraq, who are struggling with traumatic brain injury and the subsequent consequence post-traumatic stress disorder. Today, we are so lucky. The first time in our history, we have somebody who is a repeater, and you'll know why when we get to the point, because we're going to be talking a lot about education. For those of you who watched the July podcast, Colonel David Williamson was our guest, and his most important aspect of our book, Guarding Our Guardians, Guaranteeing America's Veterans a Future from Deployment to Employment, was between healthcare, education, and employment. Education was the most important. And he said that for two reasons. Number one, for the education of our guardians, and secondly, for the education of we, the civilian, to know what these great skills are that were developed in the military. And there's nobody better than one of my favorite people on the planet, Major Granger. Anyhow, we are coming to you again from our beautiful Sycamore Studios in Plain City, Ohio, brought to you generously by a grant from the Fred and June McMurray Foundation in Los Angeles, who really do understand the importance of media. And since we are launching a national call to action, this is something we've got to do. We've got to start taking care of the people who volunteer their lives for us. It was just really wonderful for them to jump in. So for those of you who saw the February podcast was wonderful because it was the first podcast with Major Granger. He is going to be kind of our boots on the ground to tell us what our book, Guarding Our Guardians, is all about. And more importantly, because of his military background, his education background, his background as being a husband, father, Christian, author, so many different things, I think he is the perfect person to kind of help guide us as we lead the nation towards something new, something that we brought out in the July podcast, our birthday podcast, we have not done in our 250 years, and that is to take care of those who protect our freedoms. So that's kind of a long introduction, but you'll understand why, because this is a very important person in our world, in our Resurrecting Lives Foundation world. I would like to introduce once again Major Monty Granger. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Chris Ann. It's very exciting to be here making history with you. Also, one of my favorite people. I was so pleased and honored to be asked to review your book, Guarding Our Guardians. One of my favorite quotes is, of course, by guarding our guardians, we're guarding ourselves.
Exactly. And you can't do one without the other, truly, right?
Right. And it recognizes, you go on and say, it recognizes not just what someone did, but who we still are.
Exactly. And I told you today I'm wearing my black and white. It's what I usually wear, something black and white when we go to Capitol Hill, because there is nothing more black and white than taking care of people who take care of you, right?
No gray area. That's true.
Exactly. Not in that, right? So you have a history of being in the educational world, and that in itself was a story after your service. And so tell us just a little bit about your service again to remind our audience, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And then about
I did things kind of backwards. I got my education first. So I attended the University of Alabama, and with a major in health, physical education, recreation, and dance, I earned a bachelor's of science degree in education, and then went immediately to Columbia University's Teachers College. I had a connection from the University of Alabama that got me an interview, and they took me on. I got a master's degree in curriculum and teaching. I then went back home to California and substitute taught.
Okay.
And then the loans started coming due. And I saw a commercial for loan repayment, be all you can be. And I thought, wow, I've never really thought of joining the military. What could I possibly do? So being a teacher and a coach, I thought being a combat medic would be a perfect fit. And it absolutely was. So I got the loan repayment. After 5 years, all my loans plus interest were paid off.
Okay.
including the loans I took to go to Columbia. So it was a wonderful thing for me to do. Then I was at a crossroads. My contract was up. I could have gotten out. I decided to stay in. My current unit was encouraging me to go to officer candidate school. So I became a medical service officer.
Gotcha.
I served 22 years, the last 17 as an officer, had 3 deployments after 9/11, including Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and to Iraq. So when I came home, I was back in the saddle as an education administrator. I
Mhm.
had a 36-year career. I retired about 3 years ago,
Oh, amazing.
and have had a long relationship with you and what you're doing. Always fascinated with who you are. I read your first book. Amazing. What you do for all of us is truly hero's work. And we are so very grateful for what you do. And again, I'm thrilled and honored to be with you now to help communicate what probably is the most important section in
Yeah.
your book, section 3, 3 chapters on education.
Yeah. So you are an educator then in the civilian world. That was where you were, and you were called up to the reserves twice, right?
3 times. So the
Three
first
times.
time was pretty much on 9/11.
Okay.
We were all called in to our reserve unit in Oakdale, Long Island, New York, which is about 20 miles from New York City.
Okay.
So we
Very
had
close.
quite a few in a military police enemy prisoner of war unit. We were told the first day to pack our bags. We're going somewhere. We didn't know where. As soon as we found out it was a terrorist attack,
Mhm.
we're on full alert.
Okay.
So in January of 2002, it was activated, trained up, and we arrived in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, to help stand up the detention operation mission there in February of 2002.
Yeah. And
And
let's pause for a moment when we talk about that. How many people in the United States in our regular work get that call to action, stand by, you're going somewhere, and your entire life is uprooted in an instant. I mean, and yet you're willing to do that. But you were father, husband, teacher, you have all of these
sure,
roles, and all of that is put on immediate pause for an indeterminate
right.
amount of time. That's a very
Yeah,
major commitment in itself, is it not?
it is. I was lucky. I had a very supportive boss, superintendent of schools, who on 9/11
Okay.
had a conversation with me. And I told him, I said, I have someone. I had already called a good friend of mine who was a mentor in my early career as administrator, who offered to come in, not knowing what was going on, how long it would be. And the superintendent said, sure. So
Wow.
for that first week I was away at the unit in the command center, trying to figure things out, I had someone there. And then when I was activated for 6 months, the same person took over my role in the school. So I was very fortunate to have that situation. My wife was pregnant with our third son. He was born 2 days before I left
Oh, wow. Oh,
for Gitmo,
yeah.
and that kind of framed my whole experience there.
Okay.
Concerned about my family,
Mhm.
concerned about the future for everything and everyone. But got through that, came home, got called up again 6 months after coming home, and luckily just served at Fort Dix, New Jersey. We were going to go through Turkey into northern Iraq and set up detention operations.
Okay.
The Turkish parliament voted no. And then a year after that, I was transferred to a unit for a 14-month deployment to Iraq, uh, where I performed the same duties. My duties were medical, preventive medical, and environmental service
Okay.
coordination for detention operations.
Wow. Okay. Again, I want to point out, all right, and this is something that in dealing with veterans, I'm amazed every time I talk to them. Every time I talk to you, I'm amazed with that service orientation. Okay, so here you are in a situation where we have a terrorist attack. The whole world, is paying attention. Your world is turned up. But before you go, you check with your work and say, hey, wait a minute, I actually found a guy. I know a guy who could do this. And in our current society, which has been much more of a self-absorption kind of society, although recently I feel a change. I feel a need, a want, a desire to get back to where we were originally formed, all of us working together. But you, as part of your service gene, because it's in your DNA, you want to make sure that everybody at home, your wife, your new son, your other son, everybody is taken care of before you go. And that is not seen in every single aspect of our society. So kudos to all of our vets for that particular ability to see what everybody needs.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Didn't mean to interrupt your story, but I had to point that out. Go.
No, we're good. I would love to dive into this because there's so much to get to,
Yes.
and you did such a good job of framing the education part.
Oh,
We prepare people incredibly well for service, right?
right.
So we need to do the same thing on the transition side. We need to prepare the veteran for that transition, and it's not. Some people think of it. In fact, you mentioned it could feel like falling off a cliff.
Oh,
You know, the transition has to be guided, and we have to take care that we're doing the same thing that we do to prepare them to serve when they get out. And there's so much that they need to know and do and be able to do, and all the resources out there that they need to connect with.
So, what are some of your major suggestions here? Let's chat about those because I thought you did a great job of summing up what our experts had spoken about in the book.
Well, you mentioned that every service member, and you mentioned this on page 116.
Okay.
I'm just going to read from my notes. Every service member nearing discharge should receive personalized education counseling, just as they received a briefing on healthcare and VA hospitals, et cetera. That was in relation to healthcare. But what that made me think of is where the recruiting stations do the testing
Okay.
and the transition from civilian life into military life. It's the perfect location to receive veterans coming out of service,
Oh,
to
yeah.
do
Yeah.
testing, to test the personality, test the needs and the abilities,
Right.
testing, and then to have the resources there in their hometown, maybe that same recruiting station where they walked in
Right.
and said, sign me up. Now find me a technical school, a
Right.
community college, a university, a job that suits my personality, my needs, my abilities.
Right.
And gee, I was trained in the military for a military occupational specialty.
Okay.
Maybe we start there. Maybe during the interview, I say, well, you know what? I was a truck mechanic in the military, but I want to try something completely different.
Okay.
And then I take a skills inventory that says, well, maybe I'd be suited to maybe a medical profession
Mhm.
or veterinary or something else entirely. Or I make it out like I did as a combat medic, and I have an interesting story to tell. I had these medic skills, and I went for a temporary job or part-time job at a big medical facility, and I
Okay.
couldn't pass the test
Because
because the language was different.
military versus civilian
I
language. Oh,
And I almost passed it, but I messed up on a few things. Are they talking about?
yeah.
So maybe I want to continue to be a paramedic or even go on to be a PA or a physician or a nurse.
Right.
And that can be identified also at the recruiting station or
That's
at a facility on my exiting base.
both would be that both are needed. I mean, but that recruiting, when you bring that up, that just sparks it. That's who they first, that's where they first started. It would make sense that they come back to that same place. And they say, okay, welcome back. What did you learn? I mean, just
Welcome
to
home.
have,
Yeah.
that welcome home. What did you learn? We're here to help you, and to have members of the community also know about the recruiting offices and what they're able to do. I think that is brilliant. And that shouldn't be too heavy a lift, should it, Major? I mean,
It shouldn't, but what you're doing, what I'm doing, what we're doing together, and all the people associated with Resurrecting Lives need to help educate those who can help us and make this happen, because it's so important. This can, like you just said, you hit the nail on the head. It's a community.
right,
Most problems, Chrisanne, are local problems that need local solutions.
right.
So if I'm exiting at, I don't know, Fort Benning, Georgia,
Mhm.
that's where I'm leaving, but I'm from Southern California, and that's where I'm going back to. There should be a system in place
Yes.
that allows that recruiting office to know, hey, Monty's coming back. We signed this dude up 5 years ago. He's getting out. Now he's coming back. We're going to have a little welcome home party for him.
Yes.
You know, hey, dude, if you need anything, here we are. And here are the resources. Here are the veteran friendly associations and opportunities for you back home.
I think
That is key.
phenomenal, phenomenal. And having that discussion, when we were talking to Colonel Williamson in last month, he said, so many times, first of all, to your point, nobody in the civilian world knows what MOS is. You know? And then they have no idea how it translates. But that is education that he stated every HR of a major corporation or corporation within the basic areas where a lot of veterans are coming back need to have that information. They need to be partners in coming back. And what I noticed in my review of close to 1,000 now of the young veterans coming back is that not necessarily does the MOS or what they were doing in the military, did they really like? They were good at it, but they didn't really like it. And a lot of times you can tweak, like Colonel Williamson said, their administrative skills or their communication skills into where they want to be. And your idea of the testing, where is your aptitude? What would be an easier fit for you? Could you expound on that just a little bit?
Sure. And I remember, back in high school in the late 1970s, going to see my guidance counselor and taking those
Right.
inventories.
That's right.
Where do my interests lie? Well, when a person comes back with skills, now you're doing a skills inventory and trying to make a match for things that they're already knowledgeable about. But the key element, of course, is where their interests are. I mean, when we take an 18, 19, early 20-year-old, and I don't want to put it this way, but I'm going to say it because it's
Okay.
a powerful statement, steal their youth,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We need to give some of that back. If they serve 2, 3, 4 years,
Right.
they're still very young. They're starting out.
Mm.
We need to treat them as if they're starting clean, even though
Absolutely.
we don't want to shake the Etch-a-Sketch.
I think-
We want to continue making,
that is.
an Etch-a-Sketch is that magnetic art thing with two
Yes.
knobs and you can draw something. Well, we're drawing something in the military, and we got a
Okay.
picture of this person, whether they're a foot soldier or a technician, what their job is. And when they come out, to change the picture, you shake it. I want to write something. Well, we're not going to shake the Etch-a-Sketch.
That's so
We're going to
smart.
continue drawing. It's a transition. It's not an end.
Yeah.
The book analogy of turning a page, new chapter, it's still part of the same binding.
Yes.
It's
That's
still the same person.
true. True.
We just want to help them find that place in the jigsaw puzzle where they fit perfectly. And they're going to be happy and healthy and productive. And that's our job.
That is our job. As a matter of fact, in the prologue of this book by a fabulous, the 9th Secretary of the VA, Dr. David Shulkin, he goes, caring for veterans is not charity. I mean, so many of us are nonprofits. We've found a need to do it because we as a society are not doing it. But he said it's not a charity, it's an obligation. And that's exactly what we're saying here. And I love your idea. If if you start off here at the recruiting office, come back to it again. It's familiar. It's closing the loop. It's, and now a softer handoff in the area where the veteran and their family is living, residing, to help get the resources that are around them there. That's brilliant. I don't know where you came up with that, but that's brilliant. I really like
I was inspired by somebody's book. I wonder who that could be. No, your book is very inspirational.
Oh,
It made me think of so many things where we as communities can come together. And if you make that recruiting office a place where people want to go,
right, right. It's a win-win.
right?
Win all the
Imagine,
coming in and
ed,
going out.
yeah, educators are very kind, giving people in general, and they want to help people.
Yes.
Imagine junior college guidance counselors spending an hour or two there each week to volunteer their time on transitions. So that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is, we want to sell this book literally and figuratively,
Yes.
especially to people who can help most.
Right.
Our elected officials, the
Yes.
movers and shakers, and there are lots of them out there. I just went to the University of Stony Brook. University of New York at Stony Brook had a event at the State Veterans Home.
Okay.
Okay, it's not part of the VA system, but it is funded by the VA.
Okay.
It's a state veterans home co-located at the university, sponsored by a local legislator.
Wow.
One of my good friends from my local VFW post 4927. He
Okay.
was a quartermaster. He was a naval officer, then became a naval reserve officer, a police officer who just retired.
Wow.
He's starting a new career as a social worker, and he's got an internship at the veterans home.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So these are the kinds of connections. I went to the poppy making last weekend, and it was full.
Oh, I do think there's a swell coming. We need everybody to get together on that. That is amazing. I need to get a copy of our book to him. So, after all this, just send me an email, let me know where it goes, for sure.
Sure. It's an amazing thing that we have here. But in reading your book, especially the education section, it occurred to me that a transitioning soldier may, thinking about careers, want to become an officer. So during the transition, an enlisted or non-commissioned officer may want to join ROTC because that is a college scholarship in itself.
Whoa.
And it is a way for the military to get interested. It's a shiny object. Wow, why should we help the transition? We're done with them.
Right.
Kind of thing. Right. Oh, wait a minute. This is an opportunity. And not just for ROTC, which is a great program, but also the National Guard and Reserve. So you don't have to end your career. You're going to change your career.
I've never heard that. I've never heard one person in all this time mention that. That is a phenomenal idea.
So guess where you can do that?
Where?
At the recruiting station.
There you go. Wow.
Right? It's the same thing. Yes. You're coming out, you're getting back in, sort of, but you're going to start this civilian life, this civilian career, whether it's purely educational, ROTC, and not all ROTC graduates have to go in back to active duty status. They can be a reserve officer.
Right.
So it's kind of a second career. It's kind of like when I had that transition after my loans were paid off.
Yes.
I thought to myself, officer would mean I'm going to make a second career.
Okay.
Right? It's parallel because I stayed in the medical side as a medical service. That's kind of medical administration.
Gotcha.
Which helped me as a civilian public school administrator. Guess which jobs I was given? Oh, Monty, we want you to supervise the school nurses and the school doctor, and we want you to do health services and all this other stuff. So it was kind of marketing for me. It's like, hey, I've had this experience and I can help out here. And it even drew me into facilities management because in Iraq and in my deployments, I worked directly with entomologists and biologists and pest control specialists, engineers, because we built new facilities when I was at Gitmo and in Iraq. So it was really a way for me to market myself and help my civilian career. And that's what can happen with these transitioning guardians.
And with helping the veteran, the guardian in their career, you're literally strengthening the community in which they are. You're not just throwing them back someplace where, what I see is, and even Colonel Williamson mentioned it, but he says, they don't sell themselves. You guys, I mean, you're very quiet about what you did. I've not heard one veteran I've spoken to who even believes me when I say how courageous they were. No, I was just doing my job,
We're doing our job.
But
And a job
go ahead.
a lot of us loved.
Yes, yeah, but it's just something they don't sell themselves. Whereas in the civilian world, we got a lot of people selling themselves with not a whole lot to sell, but it can be
Clickbait.
that way. Yeah, right. So we really need to flip that. Those are two. I would say I've never heard either of those two ideas. And again, to your point, this is not shaking up the system. This is not redoing the system or tearing something down. This is adding a little part of the Etch-a-Sketch, a little line going over here that would make a difference in terms of future. And that is the thing, with over 5,000 veterans per year taking their own lives in our nation. That is on us. That is on we, the people. Okay.
Sure.
So I think that these are very tangible ways that wouldn't require that much on the Department of War, wouldn't require that much on the local community, but would make all the difference of the world with our.
Yes. And here's another one.
Okay.
The VA. So if you come out of the military, maybe you have an interest in even mechanics or medical background, the Veterans Administration is always looking for good employees.
Oh, good point.
With experience,
right,
background, knowledge, interest.
right.
And because they run these big facilities, they have automobiles, almost any job in the military, you can find that parallel at the VA. So all they have to do is put a representative to catch them as they come out. And it's very simple. The recruiter can say, hey, Monty Granger's coming back next week. We're going to have a little welcome home party for him and help him transition.
Right.
Maybe he might be interested in any job opportunities you have at the VA. So you have a VA representative. Oh, by the way, maybe a VSO or two would want to come. VSOs are like the veterans of foreign wars,
Right.
disabled American veterans, etc. Maybe they want to come to the welcome home party too, just to introduce themselves.
I think that
because these are organizations that can assist in the transition. You have instant brothers and sisters at some of these organizations, and it's local.
Right.
They're going to know.
Instant connection. Wow.
Right. And at the VFW, guess what?
What?
The legislators are really involved with VFWs.
Oh, whoa. So we need to target them for sure, right? I mean,
yes.
Do what you can. Your VFW post, yeah, let's target them. Let's get a conversation going and see what we can do because we really do need to take this. I said, our goal is, this is the 250th birthday of the United States, is to be even better in this major regard at 251. And from there going forward, because we really have to do it. Look at the world. The world is so chaotic and so uncertain. We need people who can make order out of that chaos, and we need to make order out of the chaos in their lives that results in that service.
It's a great opportunity for marketing this transition idea.
Right.
And it's a great way for everyone to come together and do this great thing and help these veterans readjust and move on and do great things with their lives.
Right.
And a lot of these people will come back, even after they're deployed, they'll come back home. And now you've got these wonderful assets who've enriched your community. And it feeds off itself. Right. We call it a combat multiplier.
Oh, okay. And see, we in the civilian world would not know what that meant, but thank you for explaining that. Okay, so now I was wondering if we could talk for a moment about the GI Bill.
Sure.
Because I got to tell you, I thought, like I think the majority of people on the civilian side, the way that it's presented on some of the commercials, okay, or in some of the news articles is, oh, here it is at your fingertips. Why can't you get an education? You've got a GI Bill. Okay. It wasn't until I tuned into, and this is true story, on the internet, a webinar about the GI Bill. And there was literally an expert from the VA answering questions from two moderators, administrators, educators about this GI Bill. And there were so many times the VA person says, well, that's a little gray area. Again, we don't want gray areas. We want black and white. It's a little gray area. I'm not sure really what that means. And I'm sitting there. The first thing that came to my mind is if we're talking about the GI Bill, and these are two administrators from major universities, and they don't understand it. And now we have the VA designated interpreter of it. And she had some difficulties. Well, that's kind of changed. What can we do about that? I mean, to me,
It's easy. It's simple.
Okay, let's hear it.
The more simple you have things, the better. It just has to be a given.
I would agree.
Everyone that gets in now, I was an exception because I was a 24-year-old in basic training with a master's degree.
Okay, yeah, you were.
So I declined the GI Bill.
Okay.
But anyone who doesn't have a degree, or maybe they want a second degree, who knows? It should be a given. It just should be part of the benefit package of raising your right hand and, signing a blank check for everything up to and including your lives.
Exactly.
The people that lose that bet are in the ground.
Right.
And the rest of us come home and we have to continue the fight for education benefits, for VA benefits. Everything is a slippery slope and a maze to try to get to it. And it's almost like only the luckiest ones
Right.
get what they deserve
Right.
or get what they were promised. It has to be from the very beginning. We will pay for your education once you get out. Now, if it's a 2-year, maybe you get a community college money. If
Right.
it's
Right.
4 years or more, maybe it's, we're going to help pay for your degree. And then, the VA, the GI Bill, any other thing is always talked about as a separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that you have to go there for that or go here for that.
Right.
No, it's got to be one-stop shopping. When you're done, go back to the recruiter's office. All the resources are there. There's a VA ombudsman or liaison there or resources, and we're going to help you figure it out. So it's a handoff, like you say in the book. You need a good handoff, a solid handoff, and then it's all right there. The way it's built is to deny it.
Yeah.
It's easier to not give it than it is to give, and that's wrong.
Okay, so going back to what you said at the beginning, because this was my awakening. This was my epiphany, speaking to one of the vets who was having difficulties getting his education. You said, I was 24. I had a master's degree. I declined it. All right. So what I heard from this young man, 18 years old, just out of high school, signs up. Recruiting officers do great jobs at that. And I'm sure they'll do great jobs bringing them back too, because they're just that kind of leadership that they have. And the first day in boot camp, first day in Marine boot camp, they're asked to sign, do you want the GI Bill or not? Okay, first of all, we have a VA interpreter that's not sure what all it means in all. There's 5 different kinds of GI, depending on when you serve, who you serve, what your circumstance. That in itself is confusing. But I can't imagine going into the first day of school, let alone the first day of boot camp, and being asked, okay, do you want education or not? And by the way, if you sign yes, we take X amount of dollars out of your very small paycheck every month for you to live for the whole time that you're serving. Explain what that feels like to them. Because to me, I was flabbergasted that we would even do that.
Sure. We spent hundreds of millions of dollars several weeks ago to rescue a downed pilot.
Yeah. Yes.
In Iran. And I don't think any of us question that.
Right.
So if that life is so valuable, then it has to be as valuable when they come home.
Exactly.
And
Well,
I'm
this
not
is
kidding.
going in.
I'm not kidding.
This is
It has to
going in.
be right. The same commitment
Yes.
that you showed that down pilot to rescue them has to be the same sense of urgency and the same sense of commitment when that veteran comes home.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
just as valuable, even more valuable, because now they're going to affect not just their unit or that mission, they're going to affect their whole community.
Right.
They're going to build families and lives. They're going to be good citizens. They're going to be people you can depend on, maybe future legislators who can bring all that experience and expertise and knowledge and wisdom to our government. And I think that's well worthwhile to do the right thing by these veterans.
And if you divide, I don't know, I believe that this veteran had told me that it was something like $30 or $36 a month. I'm not quite sure. Okay. Because again, there's multiple different parts of the, let's get one and just give it. I mean, just give it. Because if you take that one experience and you're talking about millions and millions of dollars, how many people could you have educated and granted a future to, a future that will lead our nation forward, a future that will unite our communities and bring our communities together and bring this sense of nation back to us? How many could you have educated? The numbers are outstanding. And I just couldn't believe it that you need, a book, a foot big to figure out whether you can get educated or not. I'm sorry,
But Chris Ann, when some folks go into the military, they don't know left from right. So how can they make a life decision? They've decided to go into the military to help them learn and grow and mature. A lot of kids get into the military and they realize they have no discipline.
Yeah.
They realize they have no skills.
Right.
They realize that without the military, they may not even have a future.
Right.
And you're asking them to get their crystal ball out. So it can't even be a number.
Right.
It has to be a promise and a commitment to when you get back, we're going to help you find a job, a technical school, a community college, a university, a future career based on what you gave.
Right.
So if it's 2-year, it could be a community college or tech school. If it's 4 years or more, it should be something more.
Right.
But you cannot attach a dollar amount to it, and you cannot nickel and dime young kids who see $36.
I know. And I mean, I was shocked again, and I believe that the civilian world feels the same way. We just took it for granted that we take care of, the people who sign up, who are in boot camp, who are at the military bases. We just took it for granted. And years ago, prior to all of this happening, I remembered a 60 Minutes story about, the barracks at certain, forts, certain military installations. And I was shocked. I'm still shocked when I see the level of water or, what was going on in those ought to be the most pristine, disease-free, toxic-free environments that we have, because these are the people that we want. First of all, they're young, so their bodies can be influenced by this forever and ever and ever. Let's take away all of that. Let's get them excellent surroundings, and starting with when, just like you said, when you leave, your commitment to us, we will have a similar commitment to you, the 2-year, the 4-year. I think all of these are brilliant. And the fact that we're talking about it means that they had to have been talked about somewhere along the line.
Well, unfortunately, I have background
Okay.
in organizations. So the school districts I've worked for oftentimes are the largest employer in the community.
Oh.
And they have budgets.
Oh, good to know, though. Yeah.
And when the VA figure out and the military figure out, they do a budget, and there are people, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but the bean counters. So the bean counters keep the red beans away from the blue beans, no purple beans.
Yes.
And a lot of times it ends up with them. And I'll give a quick example of how the military needs to look at this. So once upon a time in the 50s, there was a man called Walt Disney, and he wanted to build a theme park. And his brother Roy was the bean counter.
Okay.
And every time Walt said, I want to do this, Roy would say, well, maybe you have to do this and that. But eventually what happened was the relationship, because they were brothers, was such that they could be open and honest about one another. And Walt Disney did not want to compromise on quality. He wanted an experience for people and treat them like they were guests in his home. And Roy felt his job was to support the vision.
Okay.
So I think in other businesses, including the military and the VA, the bean counters say, well, you can't do that. And then the administrators give up and say, well, I have to listen to what this person says. I don't think the bean counter was involved in the rescue mission in Iran.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
And this is the same commitment and urgency that we need for transitioning, because 17 veteran suicides per day can't wait.
Exactly. And it's waited way too long already.
We have to do something now, today, and even if that's planning to make these important changes for veterans, that's doing something.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So to sum up all of this, and you did a really pretty good summation right there, what would you say to the people who are our lawmakers, our law enforcers, our CEOs of companies, our educators? Because as you pointed out, in many of the smaller towns where our veterans, 47% come from rural areas, there's at least like an extension of a university or college there. There's an outbox from the VA. There's something there that they can be connected to. I believe your idea of the recruiting office is phenomenal. What do you suggest that we, the listener, what would you ask us to do today?
I'd like us to understand that separation should not feel like falling off a cliff.
Perfect.
Right?
Right.
It should feel like stepping into your next mission with a map in your hand. And I think another thing I got from your book was that you wouldn't send a soldier on a mission without the proper training, supplies, backup, etc. And you have to have that same idea with a transitioning guardian. You wouldn't send a soldier into a mission without these resources. So why would you send a veteran into that mission?
Right.
There are the same thing with the education pieces, with the medical piece. They're trying to cut us up into pieces and say, well, you're 70% disabled, you're 20%. No soldier ever said, hey, Sarge, I only want to risk 20% on this mission, okay? No, we gave 100%.
Right.
100% of the time. Just like that pilot who ejected over Iran, he was giving 100%. And you know what? We gave 100% for him.
Right.
And we went and we got him.
Yeah.
And you cannot let these veterans be a forgotten, ejected pilot over a combat zone. And that's what we're doing. 17 a day.
Right.
If that doesn't light a fire under you, if that doesn't cause a serious sense of urgency, nothing will.
Absolutely. That's an amazing summation. And you're going to be back because, again, you are our person reviewing the book as we go. Because of your incredible brain, and I'm all about the brain, okay, because of your incredible brain, and again, we'll have the links to your books because I want the civilian world to read about your experience, and there'll be a link there from your experience in Guantanamo Bay and before and after. I mean, what we need to do as a nation is literally this year, right now, make that commitment that we will do something beginning in our own homes, our own communities, our state, our nation. And I really always go back to Al Pacino in his great role as Lieutenant Colonel Slade from Vietnam in Scent of a Woman, when he says, don't destroy these young men. He's talking about the young men that, put your arms around, protect them. They're going to make you proud someday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to take a look. It's on the internet. It's on YouTube. I think that Mr. Pacino did a service to the nation with that monologue. And it's what we need to live by as well. And I want to tell you, you are a perfect example of that, Major Granger. We so appreciate all the time it took you to review this, to take your notes, to come up with these phenomenal ideas that you have. And I'll just tell you that we're going to be talking to some movers and shakers in this community, in the Columbus community, right after this particular taping, taking these ideas to them and then to DC. And you're going to be coming with us, right?
I will plan on it.
Okay, let's plan on that for sure. And to everybody who's listening now, please stay tuned. Keep a look at our website, because as these ideas develop, we'll be giving you different links where you can write to different people, where you can attend different local community gatherings about this, because this is something that we're going to be doing right now. We're going to be guarding our guardians from now on. Thank you so much, Major Granger. Look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye now.
If you are thinking about harming yourself or attempting suicide, tell someone who can help right away. Call 911 for emergency services. Go to the nearest hospital emergency room. Call or text 988 to connect with the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This podcast is made possible thanks to a grant from the Fred and June McMurray Foundation, and it's produced by the Resurrecting Lives Foundation at the Sycamore Studio. Music is written, performed, and graciously provided by Tim Beckley. Remember, when you work toward brain injury recovery, it is best to journey with a friend and keep your gait steady and your spirit strong. Finally, always seek shelter from your storm.
Baghdad, the Basra, the Boston, the Bakersfield, the hottest battle I ever fought is raging inside of me. My brain has been battered, scrambled and rattled, and no one knows what's going on.